I'm 50 years old. I built my workshop from the ground up, piece by piece, tool by tool. It took me 23 years to make it just right. Every tool is in its place, and every corner holds a memory. That workshop is mine, and it will remain mine until the day I'm no longer here. But at my son's wedding, my daughter-in-law demanded the keys in front of 120 guests. When I refused, she struck me. I left the room and sent a message. Half an hour later, a woman walked into the hall, and when they saw who she was, their faces went pale. Before we continue, we ask you to hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We would like to get to know our audience better. The wedding venue is too fancy for my taste. Crystal chandeliers hang from a ceiling that looks like it cost more than my first house. White roses everywhere, each one probably worth more than a decent meal. The tables are draped in cream silk, and the centerpieces are so elaborate they could pass for art installations. Owen's wedding is the kind of event where people smile with their mouths but not their eyes, where everyone's dressed like they're about to meet royalty, where the champagne flows endlessly and the conversations are all surface-level pleasantries masking judgment and competition. I'm wearing my best suit. It's 10 years old, but it's clean and pressed. The fabric is a bit worn at the elbows, and the cut is outdated compared to the designer pieces everyone else is sporting, but it's respectable. Caroline, my daughter-in-law, made it clear that jeans wouldn't be acceptable. She sent me 3 text messages about the dress code, each one more pointed than the last. I catch her looking at me from across the room, and even from here, I can see the judgment in her eyes. Her gaze sweeps over my suit, my simple black shoes, my lack of expensive accessories, and I can practically hear her thoughts. He's embarrassing us. Owen stands beside her, tall and stiff in his expensive tuxedo that probably cost more than I make in a month. My son, 30 years old, and I barely recognize him anymore. His hair is styled with some kind of product that makes it shine under the lights. His smile is practiced, professional, the kind you use for business meetings and photo opportunities. When did he stop being the kid who used to help me sandwood in the workshop? When did he become this stranger who looks at me like I'm an inconvenience? I remember teaching him how to use a hand plane when he was 12, how his eyes lit up when he saw the smooth surface he'd created. Now those same eyes slide past me without really seeing. The reception is in full swing. Champagne flows from fountains that must have cost a fortune to rent. People laugh too loudly at jokes that aren't funny, their voices carrying across the hall in waves of forced merriment. The band plays something jazzy and upscale, music that's meant to impress rather than entertain. I'm standing near the bar, nursing a whiskey, watching the crowd of strangers who make up Owen's new social circle. These aren't the people he grew up with. These are Caroline's people, wealthy, polished, always performing. I recognize a few faces from my side of the family. My brother Tom is here with his wife, looking as uncomfortable as I feel. My cousin Linda keeps shooting me sympathetic glances from across the room. They know. They can see what's happening to Owen, how he's changed, how he's been molded into someone new. When Caroline approaches, the crowd seems to part for her. She's stunning in her wedding dress, all sharp angles and perfect makeup. The dress must have cost tens of thousands. It's one of those designer pieces with intricate beading and a train that goes on forever. But there's something cold in her eyes, something that makes my gut tighten. I've never trusted her, not from the first day Owen brought her home 2 years ago. There was always something calculating about the way she looked at things, the way she assessed value and worth with a glance. "Henry," she says, her voice dripping with false warmth that doesn't reach her eyes. "We need to talk." "Not now, Caroline. This is your wedding day." I take a sip of my whiskey, hoping she'll take the hint and move along. "Exactly." She steps closer, invading my personal space, and I smell her perfume. Expensive, suffocating, the kind that announces itself before she enters a room. Which makes it the perfect time to discuss the workshop. I set my glass down on the bar with more force than necessary. "There's nothing to discuss?" "Owen and I have been talking. We think it's time you signed over the property. All of it. The workshop, the land, everything." She says it casually, as if she's discussing what to order for dinner, as if she's not asking me to hand over my entire life's work. My jaw clenches. "That's my business. I built it. It's not for sale." Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. "Henry, be reasonable. You're not getting any younger. Owen is your son. Everything you have should go to him eventually. Why not make it easier on everyone and do it now?" "Because it's mine." The words come out harder than I intend, but I don't apologize. She laughs, light and airy, but there's an edge to it like broken glass wrapped in silk. "You're being selfish. Owen deserves what's his. Yeah, he deserves what he earns." I meet her gaze directly, refusing to back down. That's when she raises her voice. Not shouting, but loud enough that people nearby start to notice. Conversations falter, heads turn. You've always been stubborn, always controlling. You can't let go, can you? You'd rather hold on to your precious workshop than see your son succeed. That workshop is my life's work. I keep my voice level, but inside I'm burning with anger. It's a building full of old tools, she snaps, her mask slipping for just a moment. And it's time you handed over the keys. People are definitely watching now. Conversations have stopped entirely in our immediate vicinity. I can feel eyes on us, curious and judgmental. Someone's phone is probably recording this. Owen appears at Caroline's side, his face tight with discomfort. He won't meet my eyes. Dad, maybe we should... He starts, but his voice is weak, uncertain. Give me the keys, Henry, Caroline interrupts, her voice cutting through his words. Right now. No. The single word hangs in the air between us. I'm not asking. And I'm not giving. The silence that follows is suffocating. The band has stopped playing. At least 50 people are openly staring now. Caroline's nostrils flare, her perfectly made-up face contorting with rage. Her hand moves so fast I barely register it before the slap connects with my cheek. The sound echoes through the hall like a gunshot, sharp and unmistakable. Gasps ripple through the crowd like a wave. Someone drops a glass, and it shatters on the marble floor. My face stings, but I don't move. I don't touch my cheek, don't give her the satisfaction of seeing me react. I just stare at her. This woman who married my son, this woman who just humiliated me in front of 120 people. Owen looks horrified, his mouth hanging open, his face drained of color. But he doesn't say anything. He doesn't defend me. He doesn't step between us or pull his wife back or apologize on her behalf. He just stands there, weak and silent, and in that moment, I realize I've already lost him. I turn without a word and walk toward the exit. My hands are shaking, not from fear, but from rage that's been building for months, maybe years. 23 years of work. 23 years of sweat and sacrifice and building something with my own two hands. And she thinks she can take it from me with a demand and a slap. The hallway outside the reception hall is blessedly empty. My footsteps echo on the polished floor as I pull out my phone. My fingers move across the screen, typing a message I've had saved in my drafts for months. Just in case. I never thought I'd actually need to send it. I hoped, despite everything, that it wouldn't come to this. But I do now. The message goes to Julia Turner, an old friend, someone I trust more than anyone in that room full of fake smiles and expensive clothes. It's time. Come to the Grandview Hotel, main hall. I need you. I hit send and lean against the wall, taking a deep breath. The wallpaper is textured, expensive. Everything in this place is expensive. My cheek still throbs where Caroline hit me, a hot, stinging reminder of what just happened. But that pain is nothing compared to the cold fury burning in my chest, spreading through my veins like ice water. 30 minutes. That's all it will take. I close my eyes and think about my workshop. The smell of fresh-cut wood, the weight of a good hammer in my hand, the satisfaction of creating something with skill and patience. That place is mine. It represents everything I am, everything I've worked for, and no one, not Caroline, not Owen, not anyone, is going to take it from me. I don't go back into the hall. Instead, I wait in the lobby, watching the entrance through the floor-to-ceiling windows. My phone buzzes twice. Texts from Owen asking where I am, asking me to come back, saying we can talk about this. I ignore them. There's nothing to talk about. The time for talking ended the moment Caroline's hand connected with my face. The lobby is quieter than the reception hall, but it's still busy. Hotel guests come and go, dragging suitcases, checking in, checking out. A couple sits on one of the leather couches, arguing in hushed tones about something. The front desk clerk types away at her computer, occasionally glancing up to smile at passing guests. None of them know what just happened. None of them care. I find a chair near the windows and sit down, my heart still pounding. The adrenaline is starting to fade, replaced by a bone-deep weariness. How did it come to this? When did my family become people I don't recognize? 28 minutes after I sent the message, Julia walks through the front doors. She's wearing a navy dress, simple but elegant, her auburn hair pulled back in a neat bun. Even in a crowd, Julia has a presence about her. Confident, composed, someone who knows exactly who she is. She spots me immediately and crosses the lobby with purposeful strides, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Henry? Her voice is calm, steady, exactly what I need right now. Are you all right? I've been better. I stand to meet her, suddenly aware of how tired I must look. She studies my face, and I know she can see the red mark on my cheek. It's probably starting to bruise. Her jaw tightens, a muscle twitching near her temple. She actually did it. In front of everyone. The words taste bitter. Julia's eyes flash with something I can't quite name. Anger, maybe, or determination. Possibly both. Where are they? Main hall. The reception's still going. I pause. Are you sure about this? She looks at me directly, her brown eyes serious. Henry, I've been ready for this since you told me what they were doing. I've spent weeks preparing. Trust me. I nod. I do trust her. Julia has been my friend for over 20 years, since before I married Owen's mother. We met at a community workshop, both of us taking a woodworking class. She became a lawyer, I became a craftsman, but we stayed friends. She's one of the few people in my life who's never wanted anything from me, who's never tried to use me or manipulate me. Then let's do this, I say. We walk through the ornate corridor together, past waiters carrying trays of champagne, past guests who don't know what's coming. The corridor seems longer than before, each step bringing us closer to the confrontation I've been dreading and anticipating in equal measure. When we enter the hall, the music is playing softly again. People are dancing, trying to pretend the earlier scene didn't happen. Caroline and Owen are at the head table, talking to some relatives. They look relaxed now, victorious even. Caroline is laughing at something Owen's aunt is saying, her hand resting possessively on Owen's arm. Then Caroline sees Julia. Her face goes white. Actually white, like every drop of color has drained from her skin in an instant. The laugh fades from her lips. Her hand falls away from Owen's arm. Owen follows her gaze and freezes, his wineglass halfway to his mouth. His eyes widen, and his mouth opens slightly, but no sound comes out. Julia walks straight toward them, her heels clicking against the polished floor with rhythmic precision. The sound cuts through the music, through the conversation, through everything. People start to notice. Heads turn, whispers begin. The dancers slow, their movements becoming uncertain as they sense something happening. By the time Julia reaches the head table, the entire room has gone quiet. Even the band has stopped mid-song, the musicians looking around in confusion. Caroline, Julia says, her voice carrying across the hall with perfect clarity. It's been a while. Caroline stands slowly, her hands gripping the edge of the table so hard her knuckles turn white. What are you doing here? Henry invited me. Julia's smile is cold, professional, the smile of someone who holds all the cards. I thought it was time we had a conversation. About the workshop, about the property, about the documents you've been forging. The whispers explode into murmurs. People lean toward each other, mouths moving rapidly. Owen's face has gone from white to red, flushed with what might be embarrassment or fear or both. He looks at his wife, then at Julia, then at me standing at the back of the room. Dad, what is this? This, I say, stepping forward, my voice steady despite the pounding of my heart, is the truth coming out. Caroline's composure cracks like thin ice. You have no idea what you're talking about. Julia reaches into her purse and pulls out a folder, thick with papers. She sets it on the table with a soft thud that somehow seems loud in the tense silence. I have copies of everything, the forged signatures, the unauthorized transfers, the fake deeds you've been trying to file with the county recorder's office. All of it. Owen's voice is barely a whisper. Caroline, what is she talking about? But Caroline doesn't answer. She's staring at the folder like it's a venomous snake coiled to strike, her breathing rapid and shallow. You thought you could steal from him, Julia continues, her voice calm but relentless. You thought he wouldn't notice, but Henry's smarter than you gave him credit for, and I've been watching, I've been documenting, I've been building a case. The room is utterly silent now. Every guest, every waiter, every person in that hall is frozen, watching the scene unfold like spectators at a car crash. Someone's phone is definitely recording. This will be all over social media by morning. Caroline's hands tremble as she reaches for the folder, but Julia pulls it back. These are copies. The originals are with my lawyer, along with my analysis, my affidavit, and a formal complaint ready to be filed with the district attorney's office. Owen finally finds his voice, though it comes out strangled. Dad, please, can we talk about this privately? No. The word comes out harder than I intended, but I don't soften it. You stood there and let her hit me. You stood there and said nothing. So now we do this here, in front of everyone, just like you wanted. Caroline's breathing is rapid now. She looks trapped, cornered, like an animal with nowhere to run. Her perfect wedding, her perfect image, her perfect life, all of it crumbling in real time. You're making a mistake, she hisses at me. The only mistake I made was trusting you, I reply. Julia taps the folder with one perfectly manicured finger. These documents are already with my lawyer. By Monday morning, every attempt you've made to steal Henry's property will be reversed. Every forged signature will be exposed. Every illegal transfer will be undone. And if you try anything else, anything at all, I'll make sure the authorities know exactly what you've been doing. Owen sinks into his chair, his head in his hands, his shoulders shaking. Caroline remains standing, but she's trembling now. The mask has fallen completely. No more charm, no more manipulation, no more calculated smiles, just raw, exposed desperation. You're ruining everything, Caroline says, her voice cracking. No, I say quietly. You did that yourself. I turn to leave, but I pause at the door, looking back at the room full of shocked faces and shattered illusions. That workshop is mine. It will always be mine, and you'll never set foot in it again. Then I walk out, Julia beside me, leaving behind a room that erupts into chaos the moment the door closes behind us. The hotel room I've booked for the night is small but comfortable, nothing like the luxurious suite Owen and Caroline are staying in. Julia sits across from me at the small table by the window, a cup of coffee in her hands. The adrenaline from the confrontation is starting to fade, leaving behind a bone-deep exhaustion that makes my limbs feel heavy. That was bold, she says quietly, taking a sip of her coffee. It was necessary. I lean back in the chair, rubbing my temples where a headache is starting to form. How long have you known? About the forgeries? I think back to the moment when everything changed. 3 months. I started noticing discrepancies in the property records, documents I never signed showing up in the county files. At first, I thought it was a mistake, some bureaucratic error. Then I started looking closer, and I realized the signatures were forged. Not well, but well enough that someone who wasn't paying attention might miss it. Julia sets her cup down carefully. Why didn't you confront them sooner? I wanted to be sure. I needed proof, and I needed to know how deep it went. I meet her eyes. That's why I called you. You're the only person I trust to help me sort this out without it turning into a circus. Well, more of a circus than it already is. She nods, understanding. I've been reviewing everything since you first contacted me. The forgeries are sloppy, honestly. Caroline was overconfident. She thought you wouldn't check, or that you wouldn't understand the paperwork. She underestimated you. People often do. I allow myself a small, bitter smile. I'm just the guy who works with his hands. What would I know about legal documents? Exactly what she was counting on. Julia pulls out a tablet from her bag and swipes through several screens, her expression growing more serious with each one. Here's what I've found so far. 3 separate attempts to transfer ownership of the workshop property. 2 fake deeds filed with the county recorder's office, and a series of bank transfers from your business account to an offshore account in Caroline's name. My hands clench into fists, the knuckles going white. How much? Julia hesitates, and that hesitation tells me everything I need to know before she even speaks. $47,000 over the past 6 months. The number hits me like a punch to the gut. $47,000. Money I earned through years of hard work, through early mornings and late nights, through jobs where I got splinters in my hands and dust in my lungs, siphoned away by my own son's wife, transferred in small increments that she thought I wouldn't notice. Can we get it back? Some of it. Maybe most of it, depending on how cooperative they are and how fast we move. But Henry? She pauses, choosing her words carefully. This is going to get ugly. Caroline won't go down without a fight. She's going to hire lawyers, expensive ones. She's going to drag this out as long as possible. She's going to try to paint you as the villain, as the controlling father who won't let go. Let her fight. I'm ready. The words come out with more confidence than I feel. Julia studies me for a long moment, her brown eyes searching my face. You've changed. When I knew you years ago, before everything with Owen's mother, you would have tried to smooth this over. Well, keep the peace. You always avoided confrontation. That was before my family decided I was worth less than my property. The bitterness in my voice surprises even me. She doesn't argue. Instead, she goes back to the tablet, making notes with a stylus. We need to file a formal complaint with the county recorder's office. Get those fake deeds nullified. Then we'll need to contact the bank about the transfers. There are fraud protections that should apply, and we should probably consult with a criminal lawyer about pressing charges. Charges? The word feels heavy. Forgery, fraud, theft. Caroline committed multiple felonies, Henry. This isn't just a family dispute anymore. This is serious criminal activity. The weight of her words settles over me like a wet blanket. My daughter-in-law could go to prison. My son could be implicated. My family could be destroyed completely. But then I think about that slap, about Caroline's cold smile when she demanded my keys, about Owen's silence, his weakness, his willingness to let it all happen. Do it, I say firmly. File everything. I want this documented. I want it official. I want there to be a record of what they tried to do. Julia nods and continues typing. My phone buzzes on the table. Another text from Owen. I glance at the screen without picking it up. Dad, we need to talk, please. This is getting out of hand. I set the phone face down without responding. He's reaching out, Julia observes, not looking up from her work. Too late. Is it? She looks up now, her expression thoughtful. He's still your son, Henry. A son who chose his wife over his father. A son who stood by while she planned to steal everything from me. People make mistakes. People can change. This wasn't a mistake. This was a choice. A series of choices. I stand and walk to the window, looking out over the city lights spread below us like scattered diamonds. Owen knew what Caroline was doing. Maybe he didn't know every detail, but he knew enough. And he said nothing. He did nothing. He let it happen. Julia is quiet for a moment, the only sound the soft tapping of her stylus against the tablet screen. Then she says softly, Revenge is one thing, Henry, but make sure it's what you really want, because once you start down this path, there's no going back. You can't unring this bell. I turn to face her, my reflection ghostly in the dark window behind me. I started down this path the moment Caroline forged my signature. I'm just finishing what she started. She holds my gaze for a long moment, then nods slowly. All right, then let's make sure we do this right. Let's make sure the case is airtight. We work through the night, organizing documents, making calls to lawyers who work late, building a case that will hold up in court. Julia is meticulous, checking every detail twice, making sure there are no loose ends. By the time dawn breaks, sending pale light through the hotel window, we have everything we need, and I feel no regret. 3 days after the wedding, I'm back at my workshop. The morning sun streams through the tall windows, illuminating the sawdust that dances in the air like tiny golden particles. This place is my sanctuary, my refuge. Every tool, every piece of wood, every inch of space tells a story of projects completed, of skills learned, of hours spent in peaceful solitude creating something with my hands. I'm sanding a piece of oak, running the sandpaper along the grain in long, even strokes. The wood is for a cabinet I'm building for Tom's wife, a birthday present. The rhythmic motion is meditative, calming. For a few minutes, I can almost forget about everything else. Then I hear a car pull up outside. The engine cuts off. A door slams. I don't need to look to know who it is. I've been expecting this. Owen walks in slowly, almost hesitantly. The bright morning light is harsh on his face, highlighting the dark circles under his eyes, the new lines around his mouth. He's not wearing a suit today, just jeans and a wrinkled button-down shirt that looks like he slept in it. He looks more like the son I remember, but the resemblance only makes the betrayal sting more. Dad. I don't look up from my work, focusing on the smooth motion of the sandpaper. You shouldn't be here. I need to talk to you. His voice is hoarse, tired. There's nothing to say. He steps closer, his hands shoved deep in his pockets. Please, just listen, 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking. I set down the sandpaper and finally meet his gaze. His eyes are bloodshot. Whether from drinking, crying, or lack of sleep, I can't say. Maybe all three. Fine. Talk. Owen takes a breath, and I can see him struggling for words, trying to find the right thing to say. I didn't know about the forgeries, about the money. I swear, Dad, I didn't know the extent of what she was doing. But you knew something was wrong. It's not a question. He flinches like I've struck him. Caroline said she was handling the business side of things. She said she was making sure everything was in order for the future, for when you retire. For when I'm gone, you mean? I keep my voice flat, emotionless. I didn't want to think about it like that. But that's what it is. I cross my arms, the sawdust on my hands leaving faint marks on my shirt sleeves. You and Caroline were planning for my demise before it even happened, carving up my life like I was already gone, like I was already irrelevant. It wasn't like that. But his voice lacks conviction. Then what was it like? My voice rises despite my best efforts to stay calm. Explain to me how forging my signature on legal documents, how stealing money from my account, how planning to sell my property. Explain to me how any of that was anything other than theft. Explain it in a way that makes sense. Owen's face crumbles, his composure breaking. I don't know. I don't know how it got this far. Caroline kept saying we needed to be smart, that we needed to protect our future, that you were being stubborn about planning ahead, and I just went along with it. I didn't ask enough questions. I didn't push back. I just trusted her. You went along with stealing from your own father. I'm sorry. His voice breaks, tears starting to stream down his face. I'm so sorry, Dad. I should have questioned it. I should have stopped her. I should have protected you. The apology hangs in the air between us, heavy with all the things left unsaid. Part of me wants to accept it, to pull my son into a hug and tell him it's going to be okay, that we can fix this. But that part of me died the moment Caroline slapped me and Owen remained silent. Sorry doesn't fix this, I say quietly, each word deliberate. Sorry doesn't undo the forgeries. Sorry doesn't return the money. Sorry doesn't erase the fact that you were willing to let your wife steal from me. I'll pay it back. Every cent. I'll sell my car. With what? Caroline's money? The money she stole from me in the first place? I shake my head. You don't have anything, Owen. Everything you have came from her family's money, from the lifestyle she provided. You gave up your own career to manage her investments. You gave up your independence. You gave up yourself. His shoulders sag, defeat written in every line of his body. What do you want me to do? I want you to leave. And I want you to tell Caroline that if she tries anything else, anything at all, I'll make sure she faces the full consequences of what she's done. Julia has everything documented, everything. One more move from Caroline and I go to the police. You're going to press charges? His eyes widen with panic. I'm considering it very seriously. Dad, she could go to prison. She committed crimes. Multiple crimes, serious crimes. She's my wife. As if that should matter, as if that should change anything. And I'm your father. The words come out harsher than I intend, but I don't soften them. But that didn't seem to matter when she was stealing from me, when she was hitting me, when she was humiliating me in front of everyone we know. Owen's face flushes red with shame. I should have stopped her. At the wedding. I should have said something. I should have defended you. Yes, you should have. I was scared. The admission comes out as barely a whisper. Of what? Of your wife? The question hangs between us, heavy with implication. He doesn't answer, but the truth is written all over his face. He's terrified of Caroline, terrified of losing her, terrified of standing up to her, terrified of being alone, terrified of who he'll be without her. You're weak, I say, and the words taste bitter on my tongue. I raised you to be strong, to stand up for what's right, to have integrity. But you've let that woman turn you into someone I don't recognize, someone I don't respect. I can change. It's too late. I pick up the sandpaper again, turning back to my work, dismissing him. Go home, Owen. Go back to your wife, but stay away from me and stay away from my property. I'm done being your safety net. I'm done being the person you take advantage of. He stands there for a long moment, and I can feel his eyes on my back, can feel his desperation. Then, finally, I hear his footsteps retreating across the workshop floor. The door opens, letting in a gust of cool morning air. Then it closes, and I'm alone again, surrounded by the tools and wood and memories that have always been more reliable than family. Julia's office is downtown, in a brick building that's seen better days but has character. The elevator is old and slow, groaning as it carries me to the 4th floor. The hallway smells like old paper and fresh coffee, a combination that's oddly comforting. I'm sitting across from Julia and a lawyer named Vincent Hayes, a man in his mid-50s with silver hair and sharp, intelligent eyes that miss nothing. His office is lined with bookshelves full of legal texts, and his desk is organized with military precision. Mr. Caldwell, Vincent says, spreading documents across the table between us with practiced efficiency. I've reviewed everything Julia provided. You have a strong case, very strong. Perhaps one of the strongest fraud cases I've seen in my 25 years of practice. How strong? I lean forward, studying the documents. Strong enough that Caroline and Owen should be very worried. The forgeries alone are enough for criminal charges, multiple counts. Add in the financial theft, the attempted property transfers, and we're looking at multiple felonies. We're talking about years in prison, if convicted. Julia leans forward, her expression serious. But there's a complication we need to discuss. Of course there is. What? Owen is claiming he had no knowledge of the forgeries. He's saying Caroline acted alone, that he never saw the documents, that he never approved any of the transfers. He's essentially throwing Caroline under the bus to save himself. I shake my head slowly. He had to know something. He's not that naive. Proving that is different from believing it, Vincent says. his voice measured and professional. If Owen maintains his innocence and Caroline corroborates his story, which she might do to protect him, then he might avoid criminal liability. The law requires proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So Caroline takes the fall alone? Possibly, unless we can find evidence that Owen was directly involved, text messages, emails, bank records showing he initiated or approved transactions, anything that puts him at the scene of the crime, so to speak. I think about the conversation in the workshop, about Owen's face when he admitted he went along with Caroline's plans, but he never said he signed anything, never said he knew about the specific documents. He was careful, even in his admission. What about the money? I ask. The transfers from my account. Can we trace those? Can we prove Owen knew about them? Vincent nods, shuffling through papers. We've already started. The offshore account is in Caroline's name solely, no joint ownership. But we're looking into whether Owen had access, whether he ever logged into the account, whether he received any of the money. If he did, that's evidence of joint involvement, but it's going to take time. These offshore accounts are specifically designed to be difficult to trace. And if he didn't, then Caroline faces the charges alone. Vincent's expression is neutral, professional, giving nothing away. Mr. Caldwell, I need to ask, are you prepared for what this might do to your family? If we move forward with criminal charges, there's no going back. Your relationship with your son could be permanently damaged. He might never forgive you. It's already damaged. It could get worse, much worse. I meet his eyes, seeing the genuine concern there. My son stood by while his wife stole from me. He let her humiliate me. He chose her over me at every turn. If that's not already permanent damage, I don't know what is. Vincent exchanges a glance with Julia, some unspoken communication passing between them. Then he nods. All right, then we proceed. I'll file a formal complaint with the district attorney's office today. We'll also petition the court to freeze any assets connected to the theft and to nullify the forged documents. I'm going to request a restraining order as well, preventing Caroline from coming within 500 feet of you or your property. How long will this take? Weeks at minimum, more likely months. Legal processes move slowly, especially in criminal cases. But in the meantime, we can take steps to protect your property. The restraining order should be granted quickly, within days. The asset freeze will take longer, but I'm confident we'll get it. Good. The word feels inadequate, but it's all I can manage. Julia reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. Her skin is warm, her grip firm and reassuring. Henry, are you absolutely sure about this? Once we file these charges, once this becomes public record, there's no taking it back. Are you prepared for that? I'm sure. But even as I say it, a small voice in the back of my mind whispers doubt. As I leave the office, walking out into the bright afternoon sun, that voice grows louder. Am I really sure? Am I really ready to destroy what's left of my family? To potentially send my daughter-in-law to prison? To permanently alienate my son? I push the thought away, shoving it down deep where it can't bother me. This isn't me destroying the family. This is me protecting what's mine from people who tried to take it. This is justice. The family was destroyed the moment Caroline forged my signature. I'm just making sure she pays for it. 2 weeks pass in a blur of legal documents and tense waiting. I don't hear from Owen or Caroline directly, but I hear about them through the grapevine. In a town this size, news travels fast, and gossip travels even faster. Caroline has hired a lawyer, an expensive one from the city, the kind who wears suits that cost more than my truck, and has a reputation for getting wealthy clients out of trouble. She's claiming the documents were a misunderstanding, that she was just trying to help organize my affairs for my eventual retirement, that everything was done with the best intentions. It's a lie, of course, but it's a polished, professional lie, delivered with her trademark charm and backed by a lawyer who knows how to manipulate the system. Owen, meanwhile, has been quiet. Too quiet. I hear through Tom that Owen's been seen at bars around town, drinking alone, looking progressively worse. That he looks thinner, more haggard, like a man who isn't sleeping or eating properly. Tom says he tried to talk to Owen at the grocery store, but Owen just walked away without saying a word. Part of me feels a pang of concern, but I squash it down. He made his choice. Then, on a Thursday afternoon while I'm working on sanding down a table leg, Caroline shows up at my workshop. I'm at the workbench, focused on getting the curve just right, when I see her car pull up through the window. A sleek black sedan, expensive and foreign. She steps out, wearing a designer pantsuit and sunglasses, looking every bit the confident woman who demanded my keys 2 weeks ago. But when she walks in and takes off her sunglasses, I see the cracks in the facade. Her eyes are red-rimmed and swollen, like she's been crying. Her makeup doesn't quite hide the stress lines around her mouth, the way her lips are pressed thin with tension. "Henry," she says, and her voice is different, strained, almost desperate. "We need to talk." "No, we don't." I don't stop working, focusing on the smooth motion of the sandpaper. "Please." The word comes out strained, foreign in her mouth. Caroline doesn't say please. Caroline demands. "Just 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking." Against my better judgment, I set down my tools and turn to face her. "You have 2. She takes a breath, and I can see her gathering herself, trying to find the right words. This has gotten out of hand. The lawyers, the charges, the restraining order, it's all too much. Can't we just work this out? Between us? Like adults? You forged my signature. You stole my money. There's nothing to work out. I made mistakes. I admit that. But I was trying to help. Trying to make sure Owen's future was secure. That when the time came for you to retire, everything would be in place. By stealing from me, I cross my arms. By making sure the transition would be smooth when I'm gone, I finish for her. You keep acting like I'm already halfway to the grave. I'm 50, Caroline, not 90. I could have another 30, 40 years left. But you couldn't wait, could you? Her jaw tightens, a muscle jumping near her temple. I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did. I step closer, close enough to see the panic in her eyes. You saw me as an obstacle, something to get out of the way so you and Owen could have what you wanted. But I'm not an obstacle. I'm a person. And this workshop, this property, it's mine. Not yours, not Owen's. Mine. I earned it. I built it. And no one gets to take it from me. Henry, please. She reaches out as if to touch my arm, but I step back. Get out. If you press charges, I could go to prison. Do you understand that? Prison for years. Then you should have thought about that before you committed crimes. Her composure shatters like dropped glass. You're really going to do this? Destroy your son's life? Destroy our marriage? Destroy everything? I'm not destroying anything. You did that yourself when you decided to steal from me. She stares at me, and for a moment, I see something raw in her eyes. Fear. Real, genuine, visceral fear. But then it hardens into anger, cold and sharp. You'll regret this. Is that a threat? It's a promise. Her voice drops lower, more menacing. You think you're so righteous, so above it all, but you're just a bitter old man who can't let go of control. You'd rather destroy your family than give your son what he deserves. And you're a thief who got caught. She glares at me for a long moment, her chest rising and falling with rapid breaths. Then she turns and walks out, slamming the door behind her hard enough that the windows rattle. The sound echoes through the workshop, and I'm left standing alone, my heart pounding. That night, I get a call from Vincent. His voice is serious, professional. Mr. Caldwell, we have a development. What kind of development? Caroline's lawyer is pushing hard for a settlement. They're offering to return all the money they can recover and nullify the forged documents in exchange for you dropping all criminal charges. They're also willing to sign a legal agreement never to make any claims on your property. No. The word comes out automatically. Henry, listen. I said no. She doesn't get to buy her way out of this. Vincent sighs, and I can hear the frustration in his voice. I understand your feelings, but a settlement might be the cleanest way to resolve this. It guarantees you get your money back and your property protected. A trial is risky. There's always a chance things don't go our way, that a jury sympathizes with her, that I don't care about the risk. I care about justice. She committed crimes. She should face consequences. There's a long pause on the line. Then Vincent says carefully, All right, I'll inform them that you're declining the offer. But Mr. Caldwell, you should know, they're going to fight this. Hard. They're going to drag it out, make it as difficult and expensive as possible. Are you prepared for that? Yes. But even as I say it, I wonder if it's true. After we hang up, I sit in the silence of my house, staring at the walls. This is what I wanted, isn't it? To hold Caroline accountable, to make sure she faces consequences, to prove that she can't just steal from me and walk away. So why does it feel so hollow? The next few weeks are a relentless march of legal motions and court dates. Caroline's lawyer is aggressive, filing motion after motion to delay proceedings, to suppress evidence, to paint Caroline as a victim of misunderstanding rather than a criminal. He argues that she was acting in what she believed were my best interests, that the documents were meant to streamline future transitions, that the money was being held for legitimate business purposes. But Vincent is better. He's methodical, precise, patient. He counters every move with cold logic and irrefutable evidence. The forged signatures that don't match Caroline's handwriting but were created on her personal computer. The bank records showing the transfers going to an offshore account she controlled. The emails between Caroline and a real estate agent discussing the potential sale of my property without my knowledge or consent. Each piece of evidence is another step toward her downfall. The trial date is set. 3 months from now, this will all come to a head in a courtroom. 3 months to prepare, to gather witnesses, to build the strongest case possible. Owen finally breaks his weeks of silence. He shows up at my house late one night, pounding on the door until I answer. When I open it, he's barely standing upright, his eyes wild and bloodshot, his clothes rumpled. He reeks of alcohol, the smell so strong it makes my eyes water. "Dad, you have to stop this." His words are slurred, his balance unsteady. "Owen, you're not well. You need to go home and sleep this off." "I can't go home. Caroline's barely speaking to me. She blames me for not stopping you, and you—" He jabs a finger in my direction, nearly losing his balance. "You won't even look at me. I'm looking at you now. And I am, seeing the wreck of a man my son has become." "No, you're not. You're looking through me, like I don't exist, like I'm already gone." He steps forward, stumbling on the threshold. "I'm your son. Doesn't that mean anything? Doesn't that count for something?" "It used to." The words come out quieter than I intend. They hit him like a physical blow. His face crumples, all the anger draining away, leaving only pain. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have protected you. I should have stopped her. I should have been a better son." "Yes, you should have." "So what do I do now? How do I fix this? Tell me how to fix this." He's almost pleading, desperate. I look at him, really look at him, and I see a broken man. A man who married the wrong person, who made the wrong choices, who's now drowning in the consequences. A man who's lost his way and doesn't know how to find it again. But I also see someone who stood by while I was humiliated, who let his wife steal from me, who only cares now because his comfortable life is falling apart. "You can't fix this," I say quietly. "It's too late. The damage is done." "Dad, go home, Owen, sober up, and figure out who you want to be, because the person you are right now, I don't know him, I don't recognize him, and I don't want him in my life." He stands there, swaying slightly, tears streaming down his face. His mouth opens and closes, trying to find words that won't come. Then he turns and stumbles back to his car. I watch him drive away, his taillights weaving slightly before disappearing around the corner. And I close the door, alone again. Vincent's office becomes my second home over the following weeks. We spend hours going over testimony, reviewing evidence, preparing for every possible angle Caroline's lawyer might take. The walls of the conference room become covered with timeline charts, document copies, and notes written in Vincent's precise handwriting. Julia is there too, helping organize documents, offering moral support, making sure I eat and sleep. She's been a rock through all of this, never wavering, never questioning my decisions. "You know," she says one afternoon as we're packing up after a long session, "you don't have to go through with this. Even now, you could still settle. Walk away with your money and your property and be done with it." "Why would I do that?" I ask, though I'm genuinely curious about her reasoning. "Because you're exhausted. Because this is taking a toll. Because—" She pauses, choosing her words carefully. "Because I'm worried about you, Henry. You haven't been sleeping. You've lost weight. You're consumed by this case." What else should I be consumed by? My family tried to rob me blind. Should I just let that go? No, but you should also take care of yourself. She sits down across from me, her expression serious. "Henry, what happens after the trial? Let's say you win. Caroline goes to prison. Owen's life is destroyed. Then what? What do you have left? My workshop, my dignity, my self-respect. And your son?" The question hangs in the air between us. I don't answer because I don't know what to say. That night, lying awake in bed, I think about her words. What do I have left? If I push this through, if I see Caroline sent to prison, what comes next? A workshop with no one to pass it to. A life with no family. Growing old alone. But then I remember Caroline's face when she demanded my keys. I remember the slap. I remember Owen's silence. And I know I can't back down. Not now. 2 weeks before the trial, Vincent calls me with urgent news. "We found something big." I drive to his office immediately. When I arrive, he and Julia are both there, looking at a computer screen. "What is it?" Vincent turns the screen toward me. "Owen's phone records. We subpoenaed them as part of the discovery process. And look at this." He points to a series of text messages between Owen and Caroline, dated 6 months ago. My heart starts pounding as I read them. Caroline. I talked to the lawyer. He says we can transfer the property if we have the right signatures. Owen. Dad will never sign. Caroline. He doesn't have to. I can handle it. Owen. Are you sure that's legal? Caroline. Trust me. He won't even notice until it's done. A chill runs through me. Owen knew. He might not have forged the documents himself, but he knew what Caroline was planning. He gave her tacit approval. There's more, Julia says quietly. She scrolls down to another exchange, this one from 4 months ago. Owen. How much can we get for the property? Caroline. Appraiser says $800K. Once we sell, we'll be set. We can pay off the house, buy that condo in Miami you wanted. Owen. What about Dad? Caroline. We'll get him a small place, something manageable. He doesn't need all that space anyway. It's too much for him. I can't breathe. My own son. Planning to sell my property out from under me. Planning to displace me, to put me in some small apartment like an inconvenient piece of furniture that doesn't fit anymore. This changes everything, Vincent says, his voice cutting through my shock. Owen can't claim ignorance anymore. He was complicit. He knew what was happening. He was actively involved in planning it. What does this mean for the case? It means we can potentially charge Owen as well. Conspiracy to commit fraud, theft. He's as guilty as Caroline, maybe more so because he's your son, and he betrayed that trust. Julia reaches for my hand, but I pull away. I don't want comfort. I don't want sympathy. I just want to understand how my own son could do this to me. Henry? Vincent's voice is gentle. What do you want to do? What do I want to do? I want to scream. I want to rage. I want to grab Owen and demand to know how he could plan this, how he could discuss selling my life's work like it was just another transaction. But instead, I say, add him to the charges. Both of them. They did this together. They should face justice together. Vincent nods slowly. Are you absolutely certain? Once we do this, there's no going back. You'll be prosecuting your own son. I'm certain. The words come out cold, hard, final. After I leave the office, I sit in my truck in the parking lot for a long time, staring at nothing. My phone is in my hand, Owen's number on the screen. I could call him. I could give him one last chance to explain, to apologize, to make this right. But what would be the point? The evidence is clear, the betrayal is complete. I put the phone away and drive home. The courtroom is packed when the trial begins. Friends, neighbors, people from the community. Everyone wants to see how this ends. The local newspaper has been covering the case, turning it into a spectacle about family betrayal and greed. Caroline sits at the defense table, her lawyer beside her. She's wearing a conservative navy suit, her hair pulled back in a simple bun, playing the role of the misunderstood wife trying to help her aging father-in-law. But I see through it. I see the calculation in her eyes, the way she's playing to the jury. Owen is at a separate table with his own lawyer. His lawyer looks nervous, shuffling papers, whispering urgently. Owen himself looks hollow, empty, like he's already accepted his fate. He won't meet my eyes. The trial lasts 3 days of testimony and evidence. Vincent presents the case methodically, building it piece by piece. He shows the jury the forged documents, explaining how the signatures don't match, how they were created on Caroline's computer. He presents the bank records, tracing the money from my account to Caroline's offshore account. He shows the text messages between Owen and Caroline, their plans laid bare for everyone to see. Caroline's lawyer tries to spin it. He argues that Caroline was acting in what she believed were my best interests, that she was trying to help an aging man who was too stubborn to plan for the future. He paints her as a devoted daughter-in-law, concerned and caring. But the text messages destroy that narrative. They show intent, they show planning, they show greed and manipulation. Owen's lawyer barely mounts a defense. There's nothing he can say. The messages speak for themselves. Owen knew. Owen planned. Owen participated. The prosecution calls me to the stand on the second day. Vincent takes me through my testimony carefully, methodically. I explain how I built the workshop, how I noticed the discrepancies, how I discovered the theft. I keep my emotions in check, speaking clearly and directly. Caroline's lawyer cross-examines me, trying to paint me as controlling, as paranoid, as a man who can't let go, but I don't take the bait. I simply answer his questions honestly. When he asks if I love my son, I pause. The courtroom goes silent. I did, I say finally. But love isn't enough when trust is broken. On the third day, the jury deliberates for 4 hours. When they return, the courtroom falls silent. The foreman stands. In the case of the state versus Caroline Caldwell, on the charge of forgery, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of fraud, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of theft, we find the defendant guilty. Caroline's face goes white. Her lawyer puts a hand on her shoulder, but she doesn't seem to notice. In the case of the state versus Owen Caldwell, on the charge of conspiracy to commit fraud, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of theft, we find the defendant guilty. Owen's head drops into his hands. His shoulders shake. The judge bangs his gavel. Sentencing will be scheduled for next month. Until then, both defendants will remain free on bail, but all assets are frozen pending restitution. Vincent turns to me and nods. We won. But I don't feel victorious. I feel empty, hollow, like I've won the battle but lost something far more important. As people file out of the courtroom, I remain seated, watching as Owen is led away by his lawyer. Caroline follows with her lawyer, her head held high even in defeat. Julia appears beside me. Henry, it's over. Is it? My voice sounds distant, not quite my own. The legal part is. What happens next is up to you. I stand slowly, my joints stiff from sitting. As I walk toward the exit, I see Owen standing by the doors, his lawyer gone, waiting alone. Dad. I stop. For a moment, neither of us speaks. The hallway has cleared, leaving us alone. I'm sorry, he says, his voice barely a whisper. For everything, for all of it. I look at him, this man who used to be my son, and I feel nothing. No anger, no sadness, just emptiness. See, so am I say finally. Do you hate me? The question comes out broken, desperate. Do I? After everything, do I hate him? I search inside myself for the answer and find only exhaustion. No, I say honestly. I don't hate you, but I don't trust you, and I don't know if I ever will again. His eyes fill with tears. Is there any chance? Any way we can fix this? I think about the workshop, about the years of memories, about the future I thought we'd have, the legacy I thought I'd pass on. I don't know, I admit. Maybe. Someday, but not now, not for a long time. He nods, tears streaming down his face. I understand. I turn and walk away, leaving him standing alone in the empty courthouse hallway. The sentencing hearing is scheduled for 4 weeks after the verdict. Those 4 weeks pass in a strange fog. I return to my workshop, trying to find solace in the familiar rhythm of work, but everything feels different now. Every tool, every piece of wood reminds me of what I've lost. Not just my son, but the future I imagined. Vincent calls regularly with updates. Caroline's lawyer is pushing for leniency, arguing she has no prior record, that she acted out of misguided concern. Owen's lawyer is doing the same, emphasizing his youth, his lack of criminal history, his genuine remorse. They're both asking for probation and community service, Vincent tells me over the phone. No prison time. They're also offering full restitution of the money we can recover. What do you think the judge will do? Hard to say. Judges don't like wealthy defendants trying to buy their way out of consequences. But they also consider mitigating factors. It could go either way. The night before the sentencing, I can't sleep. I lie in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Owen as a child, teaching him to use a hammer, watching his face light up when he made his first birdhouse, the pride in his eyes when he showed it to his mother. When did that boy disappear? When did he become someone who could plot to steal from his own father? The sentencing hearing is less crowded than the trial, but the same core group is there. Julia, Tom, a few neighbors, the reporters. Caroline and Owen sit at their respective tables, both looking diminished somehow, smaller than they were during the trial. The judge enters, and we all rise. Judge Martha Brennan is in her 60s, with steel gray hair and a reputation for fairness, but also for toughness on white-collar crime. She looks over the documents before her, then addresses the court. I've reviewed the pre-sentencing reports for both defendants. I've considered their lack of prior criminal history, their expressions of remorse, and the arguments for leniency from their counsel. Caroline sits up straighter, hope flickering across her face. However, Judge Brennan continues, her voice hardening, I've also considered the nature of these crimes. This was not a momentary lapse in judgment. This was calculated, premeditated theft from a family member who trusted you. The forgeries were sophisticated, the financial theft was systematic, and the betrayal was profound. Owen's face crumbles. Caroline Caldwell, you orchestrated a scheme to defraud your father-in-law of his life's work. You forged legal documents. You stole nearly $50,000, and you showed no remorse until you were caught. I sentence you to 3 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 18 months and full restitution to be paid upon release. Caroline gasps, her hands flying to her mouth. Her lawyer leans in, whispering urgently, "Owen Caldwell, you participated in this conspiracy against your own father. While you may not have physically forged the documents, you knew what was happening and you actively encouraged it. You discussed selling property that wasn't yours. You planned to displace your father for your own financial gain. I sentence you to 2 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after 12 months and full restitution." Owen's head drops to the table. His lawyer puts a hand on his shoulder. The gavel comes down. "This court is adjourned." The courtroom erupts in whispers. Vincent leans over to me. "That's a strong sentence. Stronger than I expected. Judge Brennan sent a clear message. But I barely hear him. I'm watching Owen, watching his shoulders shake as he cries. Caroline is being led away by a bailiff, her face pale, her confident mask completely shattered. As I stand to leave, Owen turns and looks at me one final time. His eyes are red, pleading, desperate. He mouths something. "I'm sorry." But I turn away. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm, shouting questions. Vincent guides me through them. No comment, no comment. Julia is beside me, her hand on my arm, protective. We reach my truck, and I lean against it, suddenly exhausted beyond measure. "You did it," Julia says softly. "Justice was served." I nod, but the victory feels hollow, empty. That evening, I'm in my workshop. The sun is setting, casting long shadows across the floor. I run my hand over my workbench, feeling the familiar grain of the wood, the smoothness I've maintained over years of use. This is mine. It will always be mine. No one can take it from me now. My phone buzzes. A text from Tom. "Are you okay?" I don't respond. Instead, I turn off my phone and sit in the gathering darkness, surrounded by the tools and projects that have defined my life. I think about Caroline's face when the sentence was read. The shock, the disbelief, the realization that her carefully constructed world had collapsed. I think about Owen, led away by bailiffs, his life in ruins. And I think about what Julia asked weeks ago. What do you have left? The answer sits heavy in my chest. I have my workshop, I have my property, I have my dignity, but I've lost my son. The price of justice is steep, but as I sit there in the darkness, I can't bring myself to regret it. They tried to take everything from me, and I made sure they lost it all instead.